and what you do in your life, it's not like you share the wisdoms, but you don't share like the process as it's happening. Like you allow time to come in and to be like, this is what I have to offer from my learnings. And I've really adopted that after witnessing you.
Hi, my name is Yana. Thank you for watching. This episode starts with an audio introduction and continues with the video content. So remember to watch it until the end. And subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, share with friends. Thank you for being here and listening to Timeless Teachings. Welcome to the Timeless Teachings podcast and Timeless Teachings YouTube channel. My name is Yana, and I'm your guide into the world of mysticism, spirituality, and consciousness in a practical and down-to-earth way. Here we have open and honest conversations with teachers, leaders, influencers, and simply ordinary people from all over the world about subjects that matter for our mind, body, and soul. It is all about weaving the sacred, the soulful, and the ordinary into our everyday life. Today, our guest is Brenden Durell, a spiritual mentor who helps people connect to the heaven within. Brenden believes the most spiritual act is being human, and he teaches practical ways to feel the magic in everyday life. Brenden is a forever student of Tantra, indigenous plant medicines, poetry, and he loves a delicious cup of cacao while laughing at memes. Brenden and I met several years ago in Bali at one of the retreats, and I immediately felt the power and purity of his energy. Over the years, we have been through several intense trainings and sadhanas together, and Brenden is one of those amazing human beings who you meet and he just instantly charms you with his smile. He's also a leader of a very strong global community on social media, a TV personality on Netflix, menswork ambassador, and cacao panther. I'm so looking forward to this interview. This is also our first episode in 2022, which feels like a big celebration of itself. The podcast has been launched in February last year, and what a journey it has been since. Thank you for all your love, support, for being here, and now let's welcome Brenden. Brenden, thank you for joining us today on Timeless Teachings. It is a pleasure, and finally we are having this conversation.
I know, I'm super grateful to be here, and I know we've been trying for a while. And when you told me about Timeless Teachings, I was like, yeah, like that feels really good for you and also for the community and the world. So I'm happy that it finally aligned, that I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just dive right in. And as we always do before we move into the work and purpose and soul, let's start with the human aspect. So tell us a little bit about your human life. Who are you, Brenden?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out every day.
So that's the same here, by the way.
every day, I'm just like, oh, that's me, and then also that's not me either. So, but if we're reading a book, a little bit about me. I'm originally from the States. Was born in New Jersey, raised between there and New York City, back and forth. I'm from a very humble family, humble beginnings. I have a very complex family. Ethnicity-wise, my family shares Puerto Rican descent and African-American descent, and very vibrant culture in my upbringing. And where I grew up was very, very, you can say, very New Yorkish, like in the neighborhoods that I lived in, very up in your face, and had to be very street savvy and very intuitive to be able to navigate those areas. And I come from a heavy sports background. My father was a university athlete. My mother was a dancer beginning of when she was younger, and sports was just something that was like my thing. It was it was like my teddy bear as a little boy. Like when little boys were carrying their toy cars, I was carrying a basketball. I was carrying a bat. My nickname from childhood was Bam Bam, like Bam Bam from the Flintstones, because I would carry a little plastic bat. I would carry a little plastic bat around the house, and that was just my thing. And I'm so grateful for my parents and my father, particularly. He encouraged me to do things like this, and it led me to growing up and being a very successful athlete throughout my time, which led me to playing in university and then eventually playing professional baseball. And I got to travel the world and play around. I got to play in Japan, Australia, Germany, all over the States. And I always shared this part of my life particularly because if it wasn't for this sport, this thing that we see in the world where a lot of people can call it a distraction, if it wasn't for this thing, I wouldn't be where I am now. I owe so much to I owe so much to baseball because it was a thing that allowed me to leave where I was from. It allowed me to see more of the world when I was younger. It opened me up to new cultures, to new things, new ideas, new people, new faces, new sounds, all the things that's tantric in nature. Baseball was the doorway, was the vehicle that allowed me to see the world.
Let's just repeat it once again. Just say it once again. So baseball was the vehicle for everything what is of tantric nature. I just want people to hear this once again.
Baseball was my vehicle to what is, let's say, the tantric nature that I experience every day now. Like it led me, it was the doorway. It was spirit, God, Allah, Krishna, whatever you believe in, was like, this is going to be your doorway, and you get to ride this vehicle all the way to your bliss and nirvana.
So here you are, baseball player, traveling around the world, playing. How did then Tantra came into your life?
Oh my God. It was a very beautiful discovery because in the midst of me, my upbringing, I wasn't raised in a religious family. We had influence, obviously, like Christian, like Southern Baptist, Black America influence in my family, Roman Catholic from the Puerto Rican side of my family, but we were never forced to go to church. My parents always let us just kind of do our thing. But there was a point when I was a teenager where I was like, I feel like there's something out there. And the way that I can like describe it was like, okay, I'm going to explore the something out there that I can see via Christianity. So I went down that path and I decided on my own accord when I was about 19 that I was going to become saved and do all those things that people do within Christianity. And so I did that for about 4 or 5 years when I was in university. And then I reached a point where I was like, this is not it. This is not end all be all. So I went through this whole transformation of like leaving the church. I was at a Christian university, like heavy Christian university.
I didn't know this about you, and I know you for so many years now.
I was diving into like Old Testament, New Testament teachings in university, mixed with my other stuff I was studying. And I just got to a point, remember it was like one Sunday church and people were up with their hands raising and singing. And I remember I was like, just standing there. Like I was like, first off, I don't want to stand up. Like I'm tired of like standing up and looking up and then like praising something, but not praising something in a way where I feel empowered. It's where I don't feel empowered. And this is my interpretation of it. So I got to this point where I was just like, I just can't do it anymore. But I had this really deep love for Jesus. Like really deep love for Jesus. I was so conflicted. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, leave me leaving this. So me and Jesus broke our ties in the way that I knew him for like years. I say 4 years. Anything that reminded me of Christianity, I was just like, I can't, because I was just thinking about the church in particular, not the actual vibration of it. And it's actually when I first traveled to Bali and somebody brought it to my attention. They were like, well, do you know Brother Jesus is part of Tantra? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean? And then from there, it just took off. And so that's how I say it's like I rebuilt my relationship with Jesus via Tantra. And it's even stronger now. And celebrating it in this way, in a full sensory experience in my life.
That's quite a story, Brenden. I would say. Right. Okay. I know, I know so many people who come from so many different backgrounds around the world. And there are quite a few friends who did tell me that they genuinely believe that Jesus and, apostles and everything that surrounds were a secret tantric group and practitioners. So I know that. And there are all kind of other stories also, around this.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting how we don't really know for sure. So what happened at that time. So it is whatever resonates at this moment, right?
Yeah. And that was the thing too. It's like, we don't really know for sure. And it was turning into this thing of like, years later, like, why do I still love Jesus, but I'm really attracted to tantric arts and these things? And there's something here. And I was at the time living in Australia, and I had the opportunity to see the Dalai Lama speak in Perth, Australia. And I remember I bought one of the last tickets, like all the way up the nosebleed section. Like I swear there was like pigeons above me. Like I could pet them as I was watching. That's how high up I was. I was like squinting. And I remember during the Q&A session, people were just asking questions. And of course, people were just pushing the envelope on like what they want to ask. And one man asked, is there any accounts of Jesus in the Tibetan manuscripts or something like that to the Dalai Lama? And of course, the Dalai Lama didn't answer it, but he goes, yes, there are, but I'm not going to talk about it. And that's what he said. And from that moment, I was like, there's something here. There's something here. So I just wanted to share that because that was like the thing of like, oh, there is something to explore if I want to explore it.
Exactly. And for those who are listening to us, guys, if you're curious about this particular aspect of the conversation, so go do your own research and you will find your own answers. So we're not going to be like Dalai Lama. We're not going to go deep on that at the moment. This is an entirely different conversation of itself. So speaking about Brenden, who loves Jesus and went into Tantra, what is Tantra for you?
It's peace. It's pleasure, and most importantly, it's power. It's like my inner core. It's like it's my safe space. Being a man who travels so much and have traveled so much, it's provided a certain roof so I can sleep in comfort. It's been like a warm shelter, So Tantra for me is something that I can lay my head down at night and feel complete. Like if it was my last sleep, like on this earth, I would feel complete. I would feel content and with no remorse, no regrets.
Would you like to explain to people how do you interact with Tantra as you go through your day? And the reason why I'm asking this, because for majority still, and you and I talked about it a very long time ago, when they hear the word Tantra, it's immediately linked to sexuality or tantric sex or something necessary about the physical body, usually interaction between humans, right? So, and it's probably, 99.9% population still believes in that. And I know that in your work, and you do a lot of men's work also, where you talk about sexual and non-sexual aspects of Tantra, and you go through your day in a tantric way. So would you like to take us on the journey? Like, how do you do that? What it is for you?
Well, the basis of I would say my daily tantric journey is laughter. Like that's my number one thing. Like, I mean, you know me personally. It's like there's not a meme that I don't have that doesn't describe anything in this world. Like I have like a meme library. Like I'm gonna make like a meme NFT. I'm gonna have meme NFTs and stuff. Like that's gonna be me. So laughing, joy, like joy, laughter, like things like that, like the lightheartedness, like that's part of my daily life. Like I am not that structure where it's like 4 a.m. I do this, 6 a.m. I do that, 7 a.m. I do that. It's more of like I allow my body to let me know, like you need to laugh more today. You need to hit up this one friend who you know is going to make you laugh and just have a conversation. Strike joy. So every day it looks different. Like my Tantra journey has been pretty much a white Tantric journey. I've personally never been in a red Tantric container, a red Tantric experience with somebody. So everything has been about self-cultivation for me. And I know like I am the most, you could say juicy, vibrant, glowing is when my structure, my foundation is in a laughing state. And it doesn't mean I don't take things, let's say, seriously. It just means that I'm not going to allow the problems in the present to destroy everything in my life.
I love that. Do you do any practices? Practices, or you sort of weave it into your everyday existence, and then whatever comes becomes a practice?
Yeah, like I weave it in. So I have things, let's say I call it my toolbox, my tool shed. Like it looks different every day. Like every day, like I work out. Every day I at least try to work out. And if it's not a big workout, at least 50 push-ups a day. I need to do something physical, like feeling my body, like feeling my heartbeat in my chest. Like that connects me to the moment. It's like, oh, my body's here. That's super tantric for me. Other days, or other moments, it could be me playing on Spotify, Afrobeat song. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just twirling my hips left 10 times, right 10 times, back and forth, pelvic thrusts, like things like this. Like I do this like in the mirror to ignite this stuff within me, because for my body, like I'm a big man. It's like stagnation is the death of me. And I feel that for most people, but for me even more so, because I just have so much like mass on my body, and it's like if I'm not moving, I'm definitely not going to be in my body. So I do things like that. My ignition is more of like it has to be physical for me.
And speaking about just the body, because it's also a very important part. So I can just imagine here you are. A former athlete, pretty much, right? Still an athlete, shows up very tall, you have this presence, and you say, okay, I teach Tantra and laughter and pleasure. How people react?
Oh man, it's first like I get received with so much of like wow, I didn't know I can be both. I didn't know I can do all of that. I thought I would have to be like in a monastery somewhere my whole life and live that kind of lifestyle. And I'm like, no, you don't have to. Like for me personally, the one of the greatest spiritual experiences is being human, if not the greatest spiritual experience. And it's not being of the world, it's being in the world with an open heart. And when your heart wants to close, you intentionally open it up. Or you're around people who help you and support you to keep it open. And to me, that's the greatest spiritual path. So when people see me, I'm like, yeah, like, they're like, wait, you're spiritual? And I'm like, what part of you thinks that I'm not? Like, you're separating spirituality and life. Everything's spiritual, everything.
You're like a beautiful example of this non-duality, yes.
Yeah.
You just mentioned it's actually very powerful part, of any spiritual journey, the heart opening experience, right? And when you say it kind of helps you to keep the heart open. And so with everything that you know, and with all your practices and all your life experiences, so how does that show up in relationships with people?
Keeping the heart open. So for me, it's a deep, it's nervous system work. It's like my greatest work. It's let's say keeping cool. If I'm going to put it in regular terms, like not being reactive. And I feel that that's the state of the world. Everybody is. If we're talking about the nervous system, the world right now it's living in the sympathetic part of the nervous system, which is the fight or flight part of the nervous system we have in our body. And for me, with relationships, it's my responsibility that I've taken on, that I'm going to do my best to be in my parasympathetic, which is my relaxation, my resting, that part of the nervous system that's just calming, peaceful, yogic. So in relationships, it shows up that way for me. It's like I have to take the initiative to be like, I'm going to be this pillar in every single encounter, no matter what. And even if I'm angry, I leave that space, my heart closes, it's my responsibility to also come back to that space. And sometimes it might not be in the moment. It might be a day, 2 days, 3 days a week. But my responsibility is that I committed to myself that I have to come back to it, to an open heart.
And so let's say, as an example, what you mentioned, if anger arises, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, when anger arises, I do my best first to step away. Not disassociate, not like pretend nothing didn't happen, but I step away so first physically I can put things in perspective. Like, this is something that's coming up is most likely 100,000%. It doesn't have to do with the other person. Like, they said something that reminded me of what was said to me when I was 11, and now I'm 34 years old, and it's like, it just comes back even more. It's been bottled up for all these years, so it comes out. So I put things in perspective. And then also, I say what I need to say without remorse. I do my best to keep it heart-centered. I do my best to keep it clear, but I won't leave a space without saying what I need to say, because then I will personally beat myself up later. I feel shame. I feel resentment because I didn't express. So I allow my space I allow myself to share when things are arising, but I don't share from a reactive space.
Mm-hmm. And it also requires a lot of courage, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you also talk about it a lot. And I mean, your social media is phenomenal. So who haven't been following Brenden yet on Instagram, definitely find him. And you do talk a lot that this journey, and you being an example yourself, also requires a lot of courage, because while you're being honest to who you are and speaking your truth and showing up authentically, there will be people who will not like it. And they will say to you, or they will, relationship will break up and fall away. And it requires a very strong inner core to know why you are doing what you are doing, and to have this commitment, right, to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I always tell myself, there's never been one person in the history of humans that's been liked by everybody. Never been one person. Never been one person. You think about your favorite person in the world, not everybody likes them. And once I actually fully accepted that about myself, I stopped trying to pretend that I can be a person that everybody likes. And I just focused on being a person that I can like, and I can tolerate, and I can cope and be around.
This is so cool. You're being the person you like yourself. That's a great way of saying it.
I'm around me more than anybody else.
It's like, if you don't want to hang out with yourself, why everyone else would, right?
That's it.
Okay, this is super cool. So having a party with yourself. I love that.
Exactly.
I love this. Brenden, I know, and you said it a little bit at the beginning of our conversation today about peace, power, and pleasure. And I just would like to dive a little bit deeper into those three words, because I also know those kind of your motto, your cool motto, and you talk a lot about this. So just to explain to people, so what does it mean for you, and how can they activate this more in their life? So let's start with peace. What is peace?
Yeah, so peace is the nirvanic state. Like that's what we were born into. Like in when we're in the womb, there's a sense of peace. Anytime we see like a fetus in a womb, we see the fetus floating, and like, to me that's peace. Like, we come into this world, like life offers us, for the most part, peace coming into this world before the external things happen. So allowing myself to get back to that every day. Like, can I experience peace? Can I feel held, even if I'm not physically being held by somebody? Can I feel that for myself? Sometimes, like like I said, I'm a big guy. I curl up into a ball, like a fetus position, so I can experience peace, because it's safe for me when I don't feel well. So anybody listening, it's experiencing your peace. It's like that moment when like your alarm clock goes off in the morning, and like, you got to get up, but the bed feels so good. Like, it's like you're there for like another like minute or two. You're just like moving your legs around the sheets. It's just like, I don't want to get up, cozying.
I definitely have been there so many times.
Yes. That's that coziness, like that's from the heart. That lives within the heart. Like, there's that's it. So that's peace. And we can invoke that all the time, because that's our natural state. That's our innate state. Like, to me, that's like if we walked into God's house right now, that's what we're going to feel. Like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this space, you know? Power. Power is the thing that it's a polarity with the peace. However, we all have that too. Like we have the power within us. And when I say power, a lot of people think like, oh, like macho, stoic, and power. And it's like, no, power of discernment, power of sovereignty, power of all these things that guide you in your path. Essentially saying that you have the final decision. Like you are the El Capitan, you're the captain, you're the creator. You have the power to experience peace. You have the power to do that. And leading into the last one, it's like you also have the power to experience pleasure. It all depends on your perception, your perspective on things, how you process things, how you interpret things. So with the pleasure aspect, for me, that's like it's such a practice of like when I know that I'm in peace, pleasure's there too. Mm-hmm. My pleasure is peace. Like a lot of people associate pleasure with an external thing. Like, so it could be for men, because I work with men primarily, it's like after a man ejaculates, oh, pleasure, you know, like that's not pleasure. That's a biological thing that happens. Pleasure is actually the things that happen before that, like the buildup. Like that's actually the real pleasure happening emotionally. But it's not that. Pleasure is something that happens all the time. I experience pleasure eating food. Like super all the time. I love snacks. You know me. I love eating. I love snacks. Like I groan, I moan. I'm like,
I remember those retreats in Bali and your cacao. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was just brilliant.
Yeah. It's a full, like, pleasure is all of that. Like you can experience pleasure in every single moment. So my 3 pillars of peace, power, and pleasure, it's we're in those all the time throughout the day. There's no specific order. However, they all are relatives of each other. They all are family. You need one to have the others to feel whole, embodied.
This is so beautiful. And I love how, you're like, it's an amazing example that kind of combines things that almost like the opposites. That's why people, I guess, tell to you when they see you, what? You're spiritual?
Yeah, exactly.
And you go, yep, I'm a walking example of what it means, to incorporate all of this, right? It's not always, I don't know, doing yoga and lighting up candles or Palo Santo, which is also wonderful, and sitting in the cross-leg position doing Om, right? So not necessary. You can just go through your life how you do. And I love that you're also this an incredibly just vibrant, you are full of life. I can see that there's so much life and light that is illuminating from within. This is amazing, Brenden.
Yeah, and you probably can't see it now, but I'm getting like gray hairs here. Like all here, I'm getting gray hairs.
At the age of 34, serious? 34, you're becoming an old wise man?
Coming an old wise man at 34, vibrant as ever. And I like, when I see it, actually, I'm like, yes, another one, a whisker. It's so good.
You're like an infinite soul in the 34 years old body. This is great. Yeah. This is so cool.
And what you were mentioning before about, like, you can do both. Like, you're spiritual. Like, I've had this beautiful opportunity to work on a television production, a really popular one on Netflix. And I was in a ceremony a few months back in Costa Rica. And then when I was in the ceremony, somebody kept looking at me. And I was like, okay, people do that often. They just look at me and I look away and I intimidated, scared, whatever it is. Then after the ceremony, they were like, you look so familiar. And I was like, okay. Like we just sat together in a medicine ceremony, so we feel like we are each other. And she goes, no, I seen you on such and such show. I seen you there. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were spiritual. I was like, what? Like, what do you? I was like, how do you think I landed that job on that show?
Exactly. That's a good one. This is like, a tip and advice for those who are listening to us, guys. Do you want like big promotions in life? Big gigs on stages and have your face sort of shown, to public? Think about spirituality. How can you embrace this into your life? It really helps.
Yeah. And something about you, Yana, that really inspires me too, that has inspired me. It's like, because in the past is too, with your practices and what you do in your life, it's not like like you share the wisdoms, but you don't share like the process as it's happening. Like you allow time to come in and to be like, this is what I have to offer from my learnings. And I've really adopted that after witnessing you and your process. It's people, whatever you share is a blessing because you don't have to share anything. And most people don't get to hear anything. And I've taken that into my life. So it's, I appear on social media, let's say, for example, like memes, laughing, this and that, working out. But at the end of the day, it's like the people who truly know me in my core, they know what it takes for me to even be in that state to share. And yeah, I just wanted to share that you've inspired that part of me as well. It's like, I'm not separating the two, but I know the value in keeping silent in a lot of the stuff that I do because it means a lot. And it's even more profound when I do want to share a wisdom from that.
Oh, this is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing this again. I didn't know that. You never said it to me. Did you wait until we record, this podcast interview to tell me this?
I saved all of the gems for this.
All the gems right here. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, and I do feel that it's important to have that silence, and I think for everybody, and that space. And, from my perspective in general, especially in the world of spirituality, like personal development, self-mastery, maybe sometimes there is oversharing, right? So there's like so
Absolutely.
many things going on which are not fully processed yet, which are confusing people who are then listening or reading or watching it. But also, from my experience, when we go through our own process, if we start talking about it before we have fully integrated, we intervene with our own process of healing, and often not for the best course, right? So it's better to go through what you need to go and then crystallize what needs to be crystallized. And then after this, you share that. So that's what you do. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Brenden, so we talked about all the things that you do and your life and how amazing you are. And you even shared a few things about, what connects us. So, and what you love, but what I do. So now I'm going to redirect attention back at you and ask you if you're open to this for the next maybe 3 to 5 minutes to just lead us through one of the practices that you are comfortable to share and that you personally like, that will help people to connect to either peace, power, pleasure, all three, or either one. Okay, you can choose.
Absolutely, I would love that. What I'm going to do, we'll do one of my favorite practices, and it involves a rose. I like to keep the spirit of the rose close to my heart, close to my body. So we're going to do a breathing practice that has to do with the rose. So for those of you listening, if you're listening to this in the car, of course, wait until you get home. Like I know you're a magician, you're something cool, but let's be safe. So right now, I'm just going to invite you all just to take a deep breath through your nose. Exhale out the mouth. Beautiful. Take another deep inhale in. On the exhale, close your eyes. Exhale down. Your eyes closed gently. Inhale in through the nose. Exhale out. Drop your shoulders down. Soften. Soften. That's the key word for this practice, is soften. You don't have to surrender. We do a lot of surrendering. I just want you to feel soft. Find your natural flow of breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And just soften. And with every inhale, I want you to breathe into the back of your heart. Literally, breathe into the back of your heart. You'll notice when your intention is to breathe to the back of the heart, your breath is maximized. The expansion happens naturally. Breathing in through the front of your heart, exhaling out in a great softening. And as you're in your natural flow of breath, I'm going to invite you to call in the spirit of the rose. In this practice, we're going to call on the spirit of the red rose. See it right in front of your eyes. Beautiful, glistening, sparkling petals. Beautiful stem that has buds on it. Beautiful, solid thorns. Just breathe into the beauty of this red rose. See the petals as peace. The buds as power. And the thorns as pleasure. Breathe into that. I'm going to start with the thorns. If there's any thorns in your life, no matter how painful, no matter how challenging, you get to find pleasure in one little bit of it. Pain and pleasure are synonymous in this experience of life. So if there's any thorns, any pains in your life, know that you can invoke pleasure to that situation. You might not feel it instantaneously, but simply because you are inviting the spirit of pleasure into your thorn, into your pain, your heart will expand. Take a deep breath into your thorn. Exhale out. Now we're going to move up the stem of your rose. We're going to see and breathe into your buds. Beautiful buds representing the power pillar. And these tiny buds is the power. They are the power. Because they represent the promise of tomorrow. What are you birthing in your life? What's about to bud? What's about to bloom? There's great power in your buds. They are the continuation of your path. The next moment, the next moment, the next moment. Just inquire what your buds are. And feel their power. Just like an acorn turns into a mighty tree. Your bud will bloom into a beautiful rose. Breathe into your power bud. Now we're going to float up to the bloomed rose petals. This is your peace. This is your right now. Vibrant, sparkling, glistening. There could be some morning dew, little water beadlets on your petals. This represents your peace pillar. This is what you get to sit in every daydream. Every breath you take, the fragrance of this bloomed, peaceful rose is here for you. Take a deep breath in and smell your rose. Exhale out. One more deep breath, get that aroma. Exhale out. Soften just a little bit more. And now you're going to see your rose gently float away and begin to do gentle circles around you. just rotating around you. Your rose is blessing you. The rose comes back into your vision, and it comes towards you and lands right into your heart, into the center of your body. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. Another deep inhale in. Accept all of the rose into your heart. Some of you might experience some feelings, some energy coming up your spine. It's beautiful. Your arms. You might feel a warm touch on your shoulder. That's just the rose frequency. Loving you, mothering you, fathering you. And as you go on in the rest of your day today, every inhale you take, may it be as sweet as the aroma of your rose, in your bliss and in your nirvana. One more deep breath together with me. Exhale out. Call on all parts of your body. Come back into the space and be tantrically present. Aho, Ashe, Madasi. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was truly beautiful. Thank you for showing up today with everything that you are in your tantric, juicy, vibrant, illuminated way. Brenden, it's always a pleasure connecting with you and doing things together. And people who are listening to us, I just want to remind you once again that spirituality is definitely about everyday life and very practical things. And at the Timeless Teachings space, we just bring metaphysical into the physical and creating this juicy, beautiful, peaceful, loving, and powerful union between the two. So you can have it all together in everyday life. You really don't need to separate. And so Brenden is just one of those living examples of how it is possible. So thank you for being here today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Yana. I appreciate you and sending you and Timeless Teaching so much love. And I'm sure I'll be back on here at some point.
Absolutely.
I love you all.
Yes, there will be part 2. Lots of love to everyone. Wow. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Timeless Teachings Podcast and Timeless Teachings YouTube channel are the online platforms for raw, real, and unfiltered conversations about spirituality, mysticism, and consciousness in a practical and down-to-earth way. We invite guests from all over the world to show you the variety of systems, schools, tools, and life stories that give the promise of illumination or what is called liberation in all aspects of a human life. It is up to you to decide which path resonates with you the most at this moment of your life. Only you know what is right for you. Did you enjoy the interview? Feel free to share this episode with friends, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. Stay wild and be humble. До встречи!